All you wrestling-loving people, it is WGWH, Georgia Wrestling History Radio. I am Stevie P, rocking and bopping with you all night long, joined today by Matthew Hankins. How you doing, Big Hank?
You lasers, you're listening to Sushi and the Neck Bone.
Dude, the Hammerlock. Whose call was that, first of all? Who wanted to play? I mean, I already know the answer to this fucking question.
Expert producer on the boards. LG on the boards on the ones and twos.
Dude, the Hammerlock. All right, we might as well jump right into this. Best/worst wrestling novelty song.
Hulkster in Heaven, number one worst.
I'm going to go with Imagine What I Could Do to You by Exotic Adrian Street. We used to, me and my male friends who were too dumb to be homophobic, apparently, used to play that song after rewinding it with a pen, mind you. We would play that song and then prance about. This was before Silence of the Lambs. So I don't know what the fuck we were Buffalo bobbing around for, but we were doing it. We were Buffalo billing all around and singing Imagine What I Could Do to You. Oh, my God. Holy
I was
crap.
just lamenting last night that the Mountain Goats to beat the champ record was not better. It's a whole concept record about wrestling. Like, God, I just wish it was better. Like, there's some high points on it, but it just doesn't get me to where I want it to be. So close. It's so close.
Speaking of concept songs, concept albums about wrestling, so I was contacted recently by Dolph Amick. And that may not be a name that means a lot to a lot of people, but Dolph Amick is the guy who produced and created most of the PCW theme songs for Mason and for Jeter, I mean, for everybody, and did the PCW
The Dwight Power
song.
thing would be a hit if it was just on the radio.
Yeah, because it's got that kind of...
Yeah.
Mason. He is going to release all of that in an attempt to make a little money, and so I get to knock something off my bucket list. I get to do the liner notes.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding.
Oh
I'm not kidding.
It's the number one form of prose that was ever made. The liner note is the most sacred, right? Because they're gone. They don't exist anymore. It's the most sacred thing anybody could ever write is a liner note. You're writing about music? Come on, man.
All right, so we're going to jump into this. So it looks like Southern Honor is going to go ahead with the taping on April 10th. It looks like enough people are donating money, basically. So the deal that they've worked out is, donate money one of three ways. We're going to take all that money, divide it amongst all the talent on the show. That way they can get paid, we don't lose our ass, and then we can transmit a wrestling show. I mean, it's a great idea.
It's infuriating how good of an idea it is.
Oh, yeah.
I'm angry at how good of an idea it is. That's when you know you've got a good idea in wrestling, if I get mad at it. Oh,
yeah.
That was my first reaction, like, yep, that is it. He nailed it on the button. Everybody's protected. It's literally for a good cause. It's not masking charity as something that's like, nope, pay us, we'll pay the wrestlers. And they are the one promotion that I would trust to actually give the money to the wrestlers.
True. Here's a question. Because it is such a good idea, is anybody else going to follow suit, or will they not do it just because they didn't think of the idea? How petty are we right now?
hope. So none of the big promotions will. There will be somebody will try it and will fail miserably. None of the big ones will try it because somebody else already did it. Like, that's the thing. Gary did it. We can't do it. That's just how all of us that operate on some level of knowledge can did it already. We can't do it. And quite frankly, I don't know who else. There are very few other people who could pull it off from a fan base standpoint.
That's
or at
a good
least,
point.
There's some people that compete with them number-wise, not compete, but are in their league, but they don't have the kind of fans that would appeal to. Like Southern Fried's crowd, while it can be large at times, they're not going to be a Cash App, PayPal bunch. That's just not who they are. That is not a knock on them. That's just not the kind of people they are. That's not a thing that they would think of. And then I don't know. What do you mean? And then goes with watching the show. I don't know how many other people's crowds would be into watching internet wrestling. I was struggling today to make people understand that our empty arena match will be on the internet. It was very hard to make them understand.
I saw that. Old poor Maggie. Yeah, she was struggling with it. It was just like, well, I don't think that I'm gonna miss this match if there's only some way to watch it. It's like, bitch,
it's right there, Maggie. It's right. We said it right there.
Click the link, folks.
Maggie, what have we done? Click the link, Maggie. It's right there. But yeah, so yeah, it is unique. It's a great idea, period. But it is a great idea that they're almost uniquely situated to take advantage of.
It does inspire. By the way, AEW Dark is, I think it's now, right? Where we have everybody from Corey Hollis to Sugar Dunkerton to Matt Sells wrestling in matches. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. I was going to try to get a comfortably platinum out before this, so I could have highlighted that. Didn't get to do it. But I did take a bunch of pictures of the first match that is going to happen in CVW, so that's exciting. So I'll put that out tomorrow morning. It is, for those who care, it is WrestleBots against the red member of Chisan. So open challenge. WrestleBot basically is allowed to call anybody out here in the first show or two. That's how we're doing it. We're just matching guys up based on strict challenges. And so WrestleBot was like, give me one of them. And so they sent one out, and mayhem ensued. So.
Oh, the booker's already gotten lazy. We're just doing challenges. This is great. You still got it, bud.
Mm-hmm.
You still got it.
Oh, no, it's pure lazy. It's pure lazy to start, and then
we're setting up for a tournament.
It took me so long to line up all those damn dolls so I could get like a group shot of them. I kept falling down. I mean, these are dollar store toys, okay? And so the kids are just having, it would look better like this, and they're helping, right? And it's like, well, we'll lay this one across here, and then that would knock 4 more down, and I was just holding it together.
Like real wrestling. Hey, I got a photographer here, guys. Could you get here early and put your gear on? Maybe take some promo shots for me? Sure. 3 guys, and it's the guys that I didn't need. The guys I have 50 pictures of are the ones who are here.
Mm-hmm. And then the one that's the most late, that literally the photographer has to go or the show has to start, shows up, and he's got like a Starbucks latte in his hand, right? that he didn't even go through the drive-through to get.
No.
He had to go in because they'll fuck it up. They don't put the fucking cinnamon on right or whatever. Like, so I go in. Sorry, my phone's not working, and I had a flat tire. Sorry.
Call in with your wrestlers who are late stories.
Best legitimate and probably illegitimate excuse you ever got from a wrestler. I'll try to.
I don't ask for it. I never get them. I never get excuses. I just expect my guys to be late. I have booked the Washington Bullets for years, so I just understand. I don't, like everybody's like, some people will start to give me excuses like, nope, I don't care. It doesn't matter one way or the other. You're just here or you're not here. That is why I've got the reputation of doing everything on the fly. It's like, yeah, okay, he's here, he's not here, whatever, we'll figure it out. I never get an excuse. It's always traffic. That is always the excuse.
Best legitimate excuse. I was having sex with this dude, and I was all tied up. I was like hog-tied with my legs to my hands behind my back, and I fell off the bed and hit my head, so I had to go to the hospital because I had a concussion.
That was in the legitimate. That's in the legitimate category.
That's in the legitimate category. Well, that wasn't the excuse they initially gave, but that was the reason. So I'll put that under illegitimate and legitimate. That's a hard one to top. Of course, you and I have both had because I was in jail.
That's the most effective legitimate. Like, there's no getting around. Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That adds up.
Yeah, I mean, there were wrestlers that I wrestled that I would have to hit with a bucket of ice water right before, like, as I was at the curtain, like, go to do my entrance, I would hit this particular wrestler with a bucket of ice water, wake him up, and then go like, how long do you need? And then they would give me a number, and then that's how long I had to cut a promo before they were fucking ready to go. How long you need? And the worst answer I ever got was 15-20. 15-20 is...
Blatant activity in black 3 times, guys. I'm really going to do a lap around this ring. Why
a 70s rock song? Because I knew it, and it was like, okay, if we're going to play NIB by Black Sabbath, don't play the version with Primus that cuts out the endless bass line in the beginning. I need 1 minute and 37 seconds, how long it is, of just like random bass playing. I need all this extra time. So, Miss Stiletto, who's giving free Facebook Live yoga lessons every day. So I stopped into one. First thing she does when she sees I'm there is just ask, like, do you have, like, our old Christmas promo pictures that we took with Santa Claus? She was just bringing up all the crazy stuff we used to do to sell merch. And one of them was every year we would find a legit, like, mall Santa, and then we would try to talk them into doing the most ridiculous picture possible for a Christmas picture. And then that would be our promo pics for the first 2 or 3 months. And we were heels, so people didn't like that we sold merch, but our excuse was Miss Stiletto wasn't really a heel. And she would always, take a button or 3 and unbutton them. And so they had the, like, sort of cheesecakey factor. So, yeah, like, I was like, well, I want some of this fucking merch money, but I wasn't trying to kill the business either. So, Yeah. I got to take it with Stiletto.
At least not through selling merch. Through your matches, yes, every night trying to kill the business, but not through the merch.
Yeah. It's like, how many times could this dickhead lose and be in the main event or the co-main event? It was pretty staggering, actually. Like,
what's he going to fall through tonight?
Yeah, it's like, well, and who's he gonna, like, what decrepit old wrestler? Okay, who's a wrestler that you've gotten to work with that you were excited to work with, or on the same card with, or got to meet? Who's like a
so there's 2. I got to hang out with Tracy Smothers one night, and that stands as numero uno, top of the line. That is the only time since I've been doing this, since I just kind of let myself go and just got to be in the moment, like, fuck, I don't care. Tracy doesn't know me. He doesn't know how I got in this thing. He don't know that I don't belong here. I can just hang out with Tracy Smothers, and that's what I'm going to do. And we're going to talk about how the Washington Bullets need to eat more. That is top number one, best thing. Yeah, okay, just cannot get. Tell them to eat everything they see, man. Just eat everything they see. I'll tell them, Tracy. I'll tell them. Working with Tommy Wildfire Rich. I got to choke him one night in a battle royal, and it was incredible.
Cool. And who's the other before we bring our guest on?
Yeah, Tommy Rich. Tommy Rich.
Oh, yeah. Oh, awesome. Well, coming into the WGWH studios, our special guest, he is the owner and the booker. In Royston, Georgia, Mr. Jeremy Vane.
All guests sponsored by the Hot Dog and Handshake Hotline. Sorry, brother, the house is a little light. We got this Rona on.
How you doing, Jeremy? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good, and I don't know where all these hot dog and handshake jokes keep coming from, swinging my way, man. I hear it everywhere from everybody.
That wasn't to you.
Like,
oh.
You know, we've only had we've been in business
we have
13
here, Jeremy.
years. No. That is a oh, I'm not getting paid for this.
So here's a question to the peanut gallery. Have you ever been paid in food?
No, but you know, I've taken a lot of food in lieu of pay. Like nobody's ever said, hey, instead of money tonight, like how about you just go raid the concession stand? Because there's been times that I've done that, but I've never said instead of money. I say every week, go raid the concession stand. Anything that's left. And then I have to tell my wife, like, always cook extra hot dogs at the end of the show because the boys got to eat.
I have been paid in food.
You have been paid in food?
As a manager, you're just happy to get anything. you already know.
Hey, I was paid with weed one time.
See?
What?
Yes. And,
nice.
and a funny thing, when I first got in the wrestling business, Shadow Jackson had just got me into the gym. I was like 19. Well, you know, after hanging out with the guy that owned the gym just a little bit, I paid my gym membership with weed for like the first 3 or 4 years. And, you know, we're not talking about major weight, and I think the statute of limitations gone by, but, you know, we're talking like a quarter bag. Back then it was like $40, but, you know, now.
Yeah. These are finable amounts. You're fine now. You're not going to do any time. These are just fines now.
Now the business
as a matter of fact, if the
business
FBI
is very different,
in,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, if everybody's listening
Talk to him, Jeremy.
on the FBI radar, then hey, we're doing something, right? We're making waves.
This is all for entertainment. Entertainment purposes only.
So for entertainment purposes only, I heard that was one of the ways that Jimmy Rave sort of got his way in quickly and well, was he had the fucking good. Like, he had the good fucking weed. It was just like, all right, let this guy in. Because again, years ago, it was much harder to get in than it is now, of course. And so that was one of his ways to sort of like get in good with everybody, get over with everybody. It was sort of like he had this great weed. So.
He must have had like the hookup, because I don't recall Jimmy ever smoking weed. Now, don't hold me to that, because he was around a few years before me, but I don't recall that. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he was a closet smoker, but we didn't have many of those back in the Wild Side days.
No, like everybody was lining up and then going to Steve's after, right? So.
Well, there was a time we would just get in a circle in the back or in the back of the building if it wasn't raining.
Yeah. Y'all are the ones that ruined it for us, for those of us there now. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
Actually, I wasn't there that one night, but I was actually sitting in jail in my hometown that one night.
Now what?
For a fight that happened a week earlier, but that's neither here nor there.
Wow, a fight at wrestling?
No, it was a fight at my house a week earlier. This is turning into like Narcotics Anonymous or something, because what had happened was these 2 guys left my house, and I lived in a subdivision. Well, the passenger, they immediately got him out, cuffed him, put him in the back of the cop car, and 5 minutes later, long story short, they come back, uncuff the passenger, let him take my buddy's car and arrest my buddy after they found something under the passenger seat. So, we were like the street police in our little subdivision. I'm like a year out of high school, 160 pounds. Can you imagine like how thuggish I had to be, right? I mean, Easy now. Don't laugh too hard. But anyway, so like we were gonna get justice on this guy, you know, like he brought the dude's car back. I was like, you ratted our buddy out. You set him up pretty much, because like the thing that was found in the car, I do not think my buddy would have had anything to do with. Now, you know, if they'd have found a pound of weed in the car, then hey, that guy was probably guilty. But this particular substance, I don't think so. But anyway, so I punched the guy. Like when he changed the story, he drops after one punch. I pop him 3 or 4 more times, and then like my cousin, who's like 35, who what he was doing hanging out with 19-year-old Jeremy, I'm not quite sure, but he runs up and like field goal kicks the guy in the face while he's on the ground. And then the guy proceeded to walk 1.5 miles to the police department and press charges, which led to me getting arrested a week earlier.
Wow!
And the way that ties into the wrestling business is the officer that arrested me used to be an indie pro wrestler or indie wrestler, whatever you want to call it.
Nice. And then he went into law enforcement because that's the natural transition.
You know, my trainer did the same thing.
Who's your trainer?
Maybe I have that effect on people. Stone Mountain.
Maybe. They find the Lord or they find the law.
Got you.
Jeremy Vane makes it happen.
Yes, if you're looking for the thin blue line, my brother, come visit Jeremy.
JP's got you.
Plus, I should do my own commercial. Have you considered getting into law enforcement? Well, if you would just come to work at APW, I'm sure I can have that effect on you. All the hot dogs and Czech Cola that you can ask for.
Czech Cola.
Good Lord.
Times are hard, my brother. They pay the same dollar. They pay the same dollar for the Czech as they do Dr. Pepper.
I knew... I know it's bad when, I go to Publix and I look and I go, oh my God, they're generic soda. I'll only buy it on a BOGO. That's how I know how broke I am. It's like 99 cents for I don't know, for 2 liters, 99 cents if I just wait it out.
Everybody doesn't buy $1.50 Topo Chico mineral spring water. I thought that's how we all lived. My bad.
Well, now I will say this: at the show, I buy the good water, but at home I buy the Dollar General water, and I buy real Dr. Pepper at the house. But I've tried to get that up over the years. But occasionally,
it feels nicer.
Real Dr. Pepper. Real Dr. Pepper.
Occasionally,
you know you were dealing with
leaving
real people
show.
if the term real Dr. Pepper comes up.
Right. Well, sometimes after a show, I do embezzle a 12-pack of Dr. Czech on my way out of the building. There's a full one left.
Jeremy, do you really feel like this is the end of the world, don't you? You're confessing everything right now.
I feel like I am talking to a... what the Catholics call it, a priest. And, you're on the other side of the little net, and I am just confessing. Forgive me, Hankins and Platinum, because I have listen to me confess everything.
Substandard colas for you.
Yes. I've done that for like 4 years now.
I have bought Dasani water bottles for one show and filled them with tap water for the next.
Oh, I haven't thought of
I have worshipped at the altar of Mike Jackson. I know all the tricks.
Wow.
It looks like I've got 3 or 4 months to just dig through all the trash. So I mean, maybe I can find, or the recycling bin, and find.
Let me ask you this, Jeremy. Let me ask you this, and you jump in here on this too, Steve. Has any wrestler ever finished drinking a bottle of water? Has it ever happened?
No. They leave
once,
all around. Sometimes they don't even open them. They just break the seal so nobody else will drink out of it.
And then just
they just leave them
the only time they'll
around.
empty a bottle of water is going through the curtain. That's it.
Yeah, and then that's when they dumping it on their head.
Yep, that's it.
Man, when did that dumping the water on your head shit? Is that a Triple H thing? When did everybody start dumping water on their fucking head? They didn't do that in the late 90s.
For me, it was Bret Hart. Like, I remember when I was a kid, it was always him. There were a few guys, like, more confessions, I guess. When I was a kid, that began my fascination with hot stuff. Now, Sting and Lex Luger and Buff Bagwell, like, I went to every WCW show. You know, they were in Anderson every 2 months from, like, 91 up until they shut down. They were in, actually, till they killed the town in about 97. And then Greenville, I was there every 2 months for, from, like, 85 until 96 when they closed the Memorial Auditorium. And I would always be front row because back then you could afford that shit. And you could say, hey, I want these seats. And I would be at the box office 30 minutes early, and I would get them. Every single time. So I have this long history of, like, sitting in good seats, which is why I love getting comp seats by my buddies in the Fed now, because I can actually do that again. But just high-fiving the guys or tapping them on the shoulder, I would smell, and it's like, damn, that smells good. Like, and when I was a kid, I would get Ben Gay and water and, like, just rub it on my chest when I was wrestling on the trampoline, thinking I smelled like the wrestlers. And then my very first show I ever did, there was a guy named Mac Truck that had some hot stuff, and he was spraying it on, and I said, oh, my God, that's that smell. And I went over, and I bought it out of his bag, like, for $25. I was like, dude, I'll give you $20 for that right now. Tell me where you got it. And to this day, wrestlers have been blinded for the last 20 years because of me.
So, all right, here's a question for the Peanut Gallery. Uh-oh.
Yeah, we need a
we got the hot. We got the hot stuff, but what's another piece of essential wrestling gear that you think is, if not unique to you, not everybody needed or wanted, either for superstitious reasons or sentimental reasons or whatever? What's something that, like, you when you walk out to that ring, you always had on you? Matt and Jeremy.
Wrist tape.
Yeah, that was going to be, I mean, like, that stuff is a lot. We kicked around the idea of when PCW started back, and I'm going to pull this off one day. I'm going to get a tape vending machine, and money problems will be solved. If I can get a vending machine that sells tape, then I don't have to draw another person. I can run empty arenas for the rest of my career because I won't ever have to worry about money. I was cleaning out a bag yesterday and found a whole roll of tape. And I immediately thought, who is this? I said, oh, shit, I know who this is. I better keep it from him.
Who cares? Put it in your bag.
Yeah, I just got to hide when I'm using it. And I don't even use
wrestling version of toilet paper right now. You're having some wrist tape.
For me personally, it is what I have to buy at the store before I go. I have to stop somewhere. And actually, there's a story. I have a story about this. Indulge me, if you will, gentlemen. I always have to have a bag of trail mix and a big-ass water. That's just the rules. Because you never know. Not everybody's like Jeremy Vane and supplies you with wonderful Czech sodas backstage.
I knew I should have worked there.
Whoa. The sodas aren't backstage.
That's
I do have a fridge full of water. I just
trying to bankrupt you, Jeremy. He's trying to bankrupt you.
Right. Yeah, it's not healthy for our wrestlers to drink colas.
That's true. That is the teeth, if nothing else.
I supply them.
Shane and I are heading to Macon, and we are leaving from our building, which means we have to go through Podunk Town after Podunk Town before we get to the highway. And if you're me and Shane Marks and you're riding to Macon from Covington, there ain't a lot of places you're going to want to stop. Just, rules of the road. We don't stop here. There's too many pickup trucks outside. We ain't stopping. So we finally get to Macon, and we have to stop. We're at the last stop. I have to get this Chex Mix or trail mix and water, or I can't go to the show. That's just the rules. We stop, and it's on Skid Row. And as we pull in, there's just, your random homelesses kind of hanging about. And, Shane Marks and I, if anybody spend any time around us, knows that we're absolute silly girls when we're together. We're just the two biggest fools that ever existed. And he says to me, why is that bitch in a hole? And I think that this is a part of a bit that we had always done, and I just hadn't remembered it, so I don't want to admit that I don't remember the bit, so I just kind of giggle, going about our business. Well, I go in and I got my stuff. He goes ahead of me, and he's outside. I'm behind a guy buying lottery tickets on a Sunday, wearing a linen suit, so you already know how long this is going to take. And I'm just thinking about what's going on, and then I hear on the window from outside, bang, bang, bang. And because we are the Wonder Twins, I know exactly what's happening. Shane is seeing something outside that he doesn't want to laugh out loud at because it will draw attention to him. But he needs to, so I hear the bang, and so then my senses start to figure out what's going on. And I hear it on a car radio. Somebody is playing, there was a viral song from some dude named Bishop Bullwinkle a few years ago. And it just says, hell no, to the no. Well, this is playing on a radio station from somebody's car. And I look outside, and y'all, what I can only describe as a burnt lizard woman is doing a seductive lizard walk across the parking lot, and that's what Shane is seeing. So now I'm like, just get me out of this store because we both need to laugh in the car. So we shoot outside. I don't make eye contact with him because I know the jig is up if I do. So we get in the car, and we're just laughing. Now we're laughing. I said, did you see that lizard woman? What was she doing? He said, I think that's just her walk. Well, as we pull out, I look to the left, and there's a woman. And, Jeremy Vane, I promise you, she is holding a real Dr. Pepper. And she is having she's having a crazy street person yell-off with herself. And I look, and she's just covered in dirt, and she's beat up. And I said, Shane, why is that bitch so muddy? And he says, I told you she was in a hole. Bitch emerged from a subterranean. So I have to have trail mix and water before I go to the show.
And this was just you two in the car?
Just us. Just us. That's how it always goes.
If there had been a third guy, somebody would have tried to
corroborate.
pick that chick up. No, wait, somebody would have tried to pick that chick up.
We're good boys, and that's the only thing that saved us.
It would have been 2 and 2 part 2. But
and the answer is 7:34. I've been waiting all night for someone to mention that.
So, Jeremy, if I could, so I haven't seen an official. I haven't seen an official announcement, but obviously APW's not running right now. What's the situation as you see it?
Well, the week of the 13th, I do believe, Friday the 13th, there were a lot of people freaking out, like specifically James Boulevard. This, everybody should know him, I think. If not, he is like my homie, my partner, my right-hand man. Couldn't do it without him kind of guy. And he's freaking out. Like, he's a Walking Dead fan, so he's like, he's quoting Revelations and like just expecting zombies to start walking across the parking lot at any moment. And I'm like, shut the hell up. Just stop. It's over. It's okay. Because, if you say, hey, it's snowing outside, there's a snowflake in Jasper County, then all the boys are going to be like, cool, man, I might can find a snow picture and take the night off. So they're like, so I'm like downplaying the shit out of this, right? I'm like, we're not gonna live in fear. We're not gonna worry about this. And I feel this way. Well, then, the weekend comes and the more information comes out, and I'm still like, oh God, like WrestleMania's canceling, and Vince, like, I'm old school. Like, if Ole Anderson didn't do it in 1988 or 86, 87, then I probably ain't doing it. And a wise man told me one time, if you're going to run a weekly show, do not take off for anything stupid. So I'm like, all right. He said, if you ever do, every time it rains, they'll think you're closed. So, all right, that's been my mentality for years. I've gotten a little better on the bad weather. If it's real icy, I'll call it. But this stuff, the reality and the seriousness had not hit it, had not hit home yet. But then WrestleMania, cancels, and I'm like, oh man, there's just no way. The kids are out of school permanently, or at least until further notice. So I'm like, either this is some big media thing or some political thing or like it's the end of the world. And not sure which one. But I'm thinking, okay, well, we're going to continue on and we're going to try to get one more week out of it. We were going to try to get a show in last Friday. But in the back of my mind and talking with my wife, we kind of knew, like, this ain't the right thing to do. And I'm like, yeah, well, the bills are still going to come at the first of the month, whether it's right or wrong. It didn't hurt us that bad last week, and I think after a week at home with the kids, people are going to be ready to get out. Comparing it to like a snow week or a holiday week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, but I'm also knowing that the situation's really out of my hands. So I emailed the mayor on Tuesday morning, and I didn't get a response, but first thing Wednesday morning at like 8 o'clock, he calls me and says, just to make your decision a little easier, we're not going to be doing shows for probably the next 30 days or more. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I don't have much choice then. And to be honest, part of me knew that a day or two in advance, but I was going to push on and try to make it happen. But I also was wanting them to shut me down for the same reasons that Vince wanted Tampa to shut him down, and I'll leave it at that, just in case. But, hey. And then by Wednesday morning, I was able to put the word out that we were, canceled until further notice. And that is where we stand at the moment, and we're looking at least 30 days from what I understand, possibly less, but the numbers are growing. It's getting a lot worse, and if I had known what I know now a week ago at this time, I would have probably called it off myself. But I was very confident that it would get shut down above me, and I needed that more than I needed to look like I was the smartest guy in the room.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's where we're at. We're at a standstill, and, God knows for how long. I mean, this thing, this could go 3 or 4 months. We don't know. None of us know, and I mean, looking at the numbers and knowing how serious it's getting. I mean, my wife, she works at an emergency room for a hospital in Livonia, and she was talking about it last night, was like crying, because she's like, I've seen these people come in, I've seen 2 of them come in. We've got 5 in ICU. It's, it's real. It's here. It's local. We've got it, it's in our county now. I'm worried. And she was, for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. And when she gets worried about something medically, because she's like our doctor in the house, it worries me. And, the shoot job is still having us report every day. So I'm waiting on that to change, because I can do most of my job from a computer at home. But it's a crazy situation out there. And, once I found some hand sanitizer, I got it in the car and I got it at home, and I've been adding dispensers at work where I feel necessary. So,
And I mean, Hankins,
man?
Hankins decided not to run. What was up with that?
It was hard, man, because I talked to my guys first to poll the room of hey, how do y'all feel? Because that was first. If they were already scared, then no, because my dirty thing is I run a show for my guys. Whatever else we do is bonus. I'm running for my guys to help them either have a place to be or to have a place to be better. That's the long and short of it. That is how I look at it.
Myself.
Yeah, I want to draw a crowd. I want to do all the stuff everybody else does, but much more upset if my guys are not doing well than I'm doing well with the show financially. So I talked to them first, and we're all dumb wrestlers, and we're like, yeah, let's go. And that morning, the morning I was doing all this, I was trying to be knowledgeable, and I believed it was going to be bad, and I believed it was real. Like, I didn't have any doubt that it was going to get to, frankly, where it is now. But my thing was, the CDC had said 50 at that point. So I'm like, okay, what can we do in those constraints? What can I said, fuck, I ain't gonna draw 50 anyways. What do I care? Like, how do we, like, what do I give a shit?
Well, with the scare, maybe not.
Let's check cola I gotta buy. It's fine. It's fine.
Right, exactly. So I said, okay, how do you make it work? You know, because the same thing you said, Jim, is like, and I know that people will take this as the Huckster Carney thing. Like, no, dude, I really do provide a service to the community. I am a place they can come for a couple hours and hang out and not worry about shit. And after a week off with their kids and a week off from work or whatever, they would want a place to come. And I wasn't looking at it as, oh, they're going to come in droves. I was like, no, the people, if you want to come to this show, I want to be able to provide a show to you to come to. That is honestly how I looked at it. I said, okay, I could take the boys on the card, subtract them out, and then say, all right, we got 35 seats. Whoever wants them, come on, let's do it. And then an hour after I talked to everybody, I messaged literally everybody I had bookings independently, so they didn't have to feel like they were being bullied into saying, let's do it. Like, hey, how do you feel? Well, then the press conference hit where they say, where the CDC says it's 10. I'm like, man, I still think we got time to get this one in and maybe at least have sort of a goodbye for a little while, because I thought once it gets bad, it's going to be this way for a while. This 14 days sounds like a lot to me because that ain't going to do nothing. So the 10 hit. Steve, some asshole in Florida, dropped his video. And then I and I talked to other people whose opinion I respected, and, you know, I just heard what they had to say. Well,
whose opinion you actually respected, right?
Yeah, of course. Nobody who called themselves Sex Bomb.
Yeah, so Steve's credibility went out the window with the Patreon, right?
Right. It's a fool who ignores good counsel. And so I was like, okay. But I said the other side of it is, and, you know, I did think about the older people that come to our show, and I was like, so I wrote that thing. But, like, the other side of it is, if we're not running this weekend, you know, whenever that weekend that was, I'm like, we're not going to run for a while, because once it starts, it's going to start. And we aren't the country with the Constitution, and that's, you know, it's a double-edged sword. American rebels, and they fight and they do everything they want to. That's great until the thing you're supposed to do is sit your ass down somewhere, because that's when that's when it hits 82 degrees outside and we want to go ride a bicycle. So I knew once you cut it off, then that spigot was going to be dry for a while. And I hate it, but there's really nothing, like Jeremy said, our hands are forced. There's nothing else we can do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the people who are... Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, please,
since
Jeremy,
you stopped, I'll finish. When Landmark shut down, you know, I had spoke with Rick like the week before, and he was like, what are you doing about this Corona stuff? And I was like, nothing yet. I think it's kind of overblown, and I'm hoping we don't have to do anything. And he's like, yeah, I'm hoping the same thing. We're going to continue on for now and see what happens. And then before, you know, I want to say at least 2 or 3 days, maybe more, before I did anything. But it might have been like a couple of days after we talked. So I was like, what made you pull the plug? And I hope he don't mind me saying this, you know, but he just said, you know, well, I don't want to be the one business out there that's running when everybody else is shutting down and not having gatherings, because I'm being irresponsible, and it just looks bad from a PR standpoint for us to be the only people putting people in danger. No matter if they're dumb enough to come, that's their own, you know, that's their own responsibility. But it also could fall on me if somebody gets sick, and I'm just not willing to take that chance. And me, you know, I was looking at it like, well, that's what we got insurance for. Hopefully nobody gets sick. Let's run this thing. But in the back of my mind, I knew. I mean, my outward approach was to downplay it, because at the time I believed it to be something overblown. But you know, those last 2 or 3 days before we pulled the plug ourselves, I knew, you know, I kind of knew in the back of my head that this was going to happen, but, you know, like Vince, let them do it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't help but get annoyed at people who are jumping on this as an excuse to be overly critical at people who are canceling the shows or having to adjust their shows and all that stuff. I just, again, it's one of the aspects of this thing is so maddening. I mean, again, if you've never run a show, you just don't know. I mean, nobody doesn't want to run. You know what I mean? It's not the goal. The goal is like run regardless. I totally get it, you know. And it's just not the time. Now, if you want to critique the WWE and say, like, these empty arena shows where you're showing the empty chairs, that's stupid, I think that's very valid. And other groups are finding ways to sort of adapt in a way that they aren't, I think. But, man, to be critical of people who are having to make these decisions, if you've never had to, you have no idea how tough that is. So,
right, and can you imagine making the WrestleMania decision? I mean, you know, beyond Vince, just, you know, everybody that he's got to sitting around him that's giving their opinion. You know, nobody wants to give the opinion that Vince doesn't have. And Vince has got this 36th annual event that is now so big that they sell like 80,000 tickets for. And it's like, I mean, if you've ever been to a WrestleMania that was out of town where you actually stayed a few days out of town, you realize how many people are coming from overseas and other countries just to be a part of WrestleMania weekend. It's unreal. I mean, 23
shows were running WrestleMania week that I counted.
Yeah. And,
and there's probably more, but 23. And most of those were not local. They were shows that predominantly ran in a different state that were running there. So, I mean, oh my God. You know, the city of Tampa was like, oh my God, you know, we're sold out. I mean, Disney's closed. Disney, which closed for a day and a half when the hurricane hit 2 years ago. And they didn't want to close for that half day. You know, they're like, so.
And the only other times were 9/11 and when Kennedy was shot. So that should put that in perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Mickey Mouse is not trying to infect people. And, you know, these last couple of days, I've kind of gotten concerned, especially after my wife got concerned. I was like,
yeah,
you know, this would suck to end up sick after all the jokes we've all made and just the little snarky comments that we make just to be. Yeah, like karma's a bitch, and I would hate to be a victim of it.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
you know, if the world's coming to an end, I have faith in everything right there. You know, I know where I'm going. I'm not worried about that. But that doesn't mean that I want to suffer for like 6 months while it happens either, or watch my family get sick. But,
yeah.
Wow. On to lighter subjects, maybe?
Yeah.
What about the Benoit thing tonight?
Oh, shit.
I'm going to hell for popping for that.
Oh, my God. Well, I'll see Hankins there at least. But
when Jim Cornette started crying.
The great PCW reunion.
I have a feeling there will be some Wildside alumni there as well.
And they still won't want to work with us.
Yeah, but now it would be a contest of who has the better weed, though. PCW, let me declare this. PCW was the first group since Wildside who I would say brought the good, and drove me insane, drove me crazy, but it was what it was. So.
Before I escaped the world of the magical plants, I must say it got a lot louder in the community, and it got to where you couldn't even have it in a jar, in a bag, in a box in a bucket in the back of your truck in a trunk in a toolbox because it didn't have to burn to smell it like 2 miles down the road.
No, it
so
did
that
not.
IPD came along, and I was like, I'm out, because this just shows me how stupid it is and how easy it is to get caught. I'm done. Sorry. Peace.
Speaking of which, I'm watching Karate Kid, and there's old Johnny rolling in his joint, sitting on the toilet in his skeleton outfit.
That's awesome. Did anybody else on this thing? Did anybody else actually order YouTube Red for that free trial, the Cobra Kai series?
No, I waited. If you wait long enough, they'll put the season up for like a week for free on regular YouTube. So that's the game that I want to play.
See, I didn't know that. I paid $9.
When you're out here getting BOGO store brand sodas and you know all the YouTube secrets, you are operating on a level of hustle that I have never been at.
Damn.
I'm a little offended at all this Czech Cola hate that I'm getting.
It's probably because I hadn't heard the word Czech in 25 years. It's just when it relates to a cola.
You get 5 12-packs for $11. How many 12-packs of the name brand soda do you get for $11? I'm just saying, do the math. And they all sell for $1 a can.
Nobody's mad at you, Jeremy. Damn.
Maybe there's a slightly guilty conscience there, but no, we at least have our own name brand of off-brand stuff. Like we're not getting like value pepper or nothing like that.
I mean, I've drank a Dr. Thunder in my life.
Oh no!
I thought Braun Strowman calling Lance Archer the great value version of himself.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a little naive on his part.
My man, for a guy that can't cut a promo, he loves to. He really can do it online. He got after all the independent shows belly aching because of them having to cancel the WrestleMania tributary shows. He got on them pretty good. Said he left powerlifting because they weren't paying him enough, and he drove to Florida with $150 in his pocket. Forgot to mention he drove to Florida to the Performance Center. That's where he was going.
Yeah. Never once stepped foot in a Fed that paid a hot dog. Okay, so at that point you get no love from me. It's like if you never
shaken a hand backstage in his life.
Yeah, he's just spoke out twice lately and really made an ass of himself.
Does he get the golden? I want to make up this thing called the Golden Tackle Award, where like you just want to tackle these guys to stop them from doing stuff. And I think he's a Golden Tackle winner of the week. Yeah, every time he speaks up,
right.
It's so. What shocks me is you would think the WWE guys would be on a much tighter leash, or at least they would be scared, right? I mean,
maybe he's big that nobody wants to tell him how stupid he's. Or not stupid, because I guess if you're bad enough to back it up, you're not stupid for saying what you think. And I'm not a big fan of the GoFundMe thing, but you know what? If something happened to a family member tomorrow that didn't have life insurance, can't say I wouldn't start one up, I mean,
right.
So I'm not going to.
I mean, go buy a shirt doesn't seem like a very big thing to ask.
And what a douche to say that. I mean, why go out of your way when? Let's face it. If you weren't, no, he worked on his body, but he didn't do nothing.
To be 7 feet tall, like that didn't.
He kind of walked in with an opportunity.
And what makes me mad about him is he often does that. The thing I hate the most is when someone actually, I share a lot of it, like in the Archer opinion and also the indie show opinion. Like I kind of lean on his side on that I'm like, look guys, if you're deciding to hook on to WrestleMania and then Mania can't happen and so, you don't get to eat off that plate, then I'm not going to feel that sorry for you. because you were already rolling the dice.
Yeah.
If someone else ran in our town like they do in that town, we'd be hacked off too. So at some level, I just got to say it's all wrestling, or it's none of it's wrestling. I can't just write the Fed out because they're giant. I'm not that impressed with Lance Archer either.
No, but I've seen a lot more Lance Archer stuff that I liked than I have Braun Strowman. However, a lot of that's probably booking. A lot of that is probably the booking. Cause
absolutely.
Let's face it,
like,
they've
you
got him hot
about
3
Lance
times
Boyd,
and killed him. Yeah. Well, no. I haven't seen Lance Hoyt since his Jimmy Rave tag team.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, I don't watch New Japan. I know, shoot me. But
you're all right.
Nothing against it. I just don't watch it. But I take that back. I watched the WCW New Japan Super Show in '91. But,
got it in. Got it in.
And I've watched a few AJ matches. But, you know, like Lance Archer, this guy, you know, I didn't think he sucked back then in TNA with Jimmy. I remember he did come to WWE, and I forget how that went, but, you know, it was not memorable. And since then, he's went out and made a name for himself, and now he's got a contract with a major company, and I wish nothing but the best for him.
He has never blown the wind up my skirt, ever. Lance Archer. Fuck him. I just never really cared. And that AEW package, I was just like, man, they got more mileage just out of presentation. And they were smart enough to put Jake Roberts in a rocking chair and just have him blow smoke out of his mouth. And I just went, like, that's the best use of Jake I've seen in 20 years. Yeah. You know, just take advantage of the presence and don't put the guys in a position where they look bad. And they had a bunch of guys who were just willing to kill themselves, like Kyle Matthews and Hold My Beer Hansen, who were willing to just go in there and take their licks and make it look awesome. And I was like, man, it's a little bit of creativity goes a long way. And I feel bad for the WWE because they don't have any. And they're surrounded by people that don't have creativity. And they're paying for it right now.
If I can, if I can interject for just a sec.
The producer.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the producer speaks. The producer speaks. No, I mean, that vignette, hey, this has been fun to listen to, I'll tell you. That vignette with Archer was fantastic, but I also wanted to say, when New Japan came to Atlanta, now admittedly they didn't have all their best guys, he was about the most impressive guy on that show, was Archer and Jeff Cobb. Was outstanding. Yeah, he looked fantastic. So,
I've
good
heard
signing for
good stuff about him in New Japan. Yeah.
He's got the pepper. You know, he's got the pepper right now, and that counts for a whole lot. It's all about momentum. Like WrestleMania, it's not just that it's not happening the way it was supposed to. It just feels, it just doesn't feel like an event. And that's not anybody's fault necessarily. It's just reality. And
I'm going to take the other side of that, Steve.
Are you really?
I'm going to say I'm going to say that in 2 weeks, after we've had another 2 weeks of this, and it's Saturday night, and we are stuck here again, we're going to cut WrestleMania on, and it might not be great, but we're going to think it's great because it is something on the TV. And Uncle Vince was there for us in our time of need.
That's right. And, you know, the saddest thing for me, and I mean, it's not really in the grand scheme of things, if this is my biggest complaint, then God's blessed us all. But I just hate that AJ's getting this shot at The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and it's going to happen in front of an empty building. Like, that just breaks my heart because, you know, this is the pinnacle. I mean, and there's no bigger match at WrestleMania than whoever faces The Undertaker.
Absolutely.
And the only time in the last, 10 years that they've proven us wrong was Daniel Bryan when WrestleMania 30. When
30.
And that was just that rise that he had that was meteoric over the 8 months that it happened. Yeah,
I'm excited to see WrestleMania without the dickhead fans of WrestleMania. We have an opportunity that maybe I don't think it's going to be great, but just maybe there's a chance that Goldberg and Roman Reigns can be something enjoyable without me being mad at those idiots, because I am always mad at those idiots.
So this was an idea that I had, and I need everybody to talk Hankins into doing it with me. So my idea is the Raw after WrestleMania, which is now has become the annual Crowds Hijack the Show, is just Hankins and I watching these empty arena show live, but then endlessly making up chants and cat calls for 3 hours for no reason. Just so people can feel like they're watching the Raw after WrestleMania. So if people can get behind this idea, start a GoFundMe. I would be more than willing to endlessly just sit there with my children and just whisper in their ear, okay, we're going to chant CM Punk. Don't ask what that is. It's what we're doing. Yeah.
My favorite thing would be if they did something great at WrestleMania, something that the fans would absolutely go apeshit for. That would be my favorite thing, is if they pulled it off in that empty-ass arena. I would truly love. I like anything that gives them the business. I hate them. I hate those fans so much. I think that while, yes, they are devoid of creativity, but I'm going to tell you, man, if I had to work in front of those people every week, I wouldn't bother either. I'd take my Fox money and I'd spend it, and I'd say, it doesn't matter what I give them. They're just going to hate it, and they don't understand that things ever end. Oh, I put the title on Kofi Kingston for half a year, and those dummies didn't. They enjoyed it until they didn't, and then got mad at me for taking it off of him.
Yeah, and sadly, they spent 11 years burying the guy. I mean, I'm not going to say they were burying him during the New Day run, but, you know, they spent 11 years telling you that this guy is not a top guy. And then all of a sudden, because it felt good, they want to put the belt on him. And when he was champ, he wasn't a top guy. And that's not a knock on Kofi. That's not a knock on Kofi at all. That's a knock on their presentation. Because, like, who am I to question a billionaire in his company, like, that's kept me entertained since I was a little kid, or at least since 2001 when I didn't have a choice anymore. But you know, but think about it. Let's look at the guys. Like, let's just start listing guys that could be like John Cena level of stars if they had just gave them the chance. So let's say Shawn Michaels, because, you know, let's Cena, Rock, Stone Cold, Hogan. Those are guys that are like once a generation. They're the face of your company. But let's look at the guys that could have been the Shawn Michaels and the Bret Harts. You know, we can start with Ziggler. We could go with Kofi. We could go with Morrison. We could go with I'll go with Rob Van Dam during the invasion.
Rob Van Dam, absolutely. Nobody ran with a hotter hand, and they just wouldn't do it. If you look at the legion of guys that they rolled under the Triple H frickin' steamroller to get him over, who never got their justice served. I mean, he calls Booker T a jigaboo and then goes over him in WrestleMania, and that's the end of the angle. And it's just like there was a number of guys like that. And Rob Van Dam, nobody was hotter at one point, in spite of he's supposed to be the heel. It didn't matter. He's like lightning in a bottle, and they just didn't run with it. And I just go like, who doesn't? I mean, Hogan gets a weird pop at a WrestleMania, and they put the title on him. You know, just like, he might be 100, but shit, he got a pop. I'm like, give him that always just struck me as so strange. It's just like,
well, let's
that's
look
what you
more
want,
recent.
Right? Yeah,
let's look more recent. Braun Strowman. I mean, yeah, he's a dick online, but you know, who got hotter? Who got hotter, and who was more believable than him? You know, when Brock is the opponent, and like they killed it in a match. I mean, he took an F5 and lost like the same way Kofi did. And I'm sorry, like Braun Strowman should not lose the same way Kofi does. not as easy. Samoa Joe, I was disappointed in. They ruined him.
You've made great points, and I agree with some of them, but I'm going to say this. I don't think if you've got an Austin, if you've got a Hogan, if you've got a Rock, I don't think you can keep him under. I think that's undeniable, wink, wink, talent, that no matter what happens, no matter what you do, it shines through. And I don't think they've had one since. Like, the Strowman, you brought up a great point with Strowman, and yes, he shouldn't lose the same way Kofi did, and they did make mistakes by having him continue to lose to Brock after he chased him, and they'd spend all these thousands of dollars to tear all this shit up, and they wouldn't pull the trigger. But let me ask you this. Are you excited if, let's say that, Corona's, nobody eats a bat sandwich, and there is no Corona, and we're getting ready to roll into WrestleMania. Are you excited for Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman like you are Brock Lesnar?
No, I'm not. I'm not excited about. I'm not excited about McIntyre. That he was going to be on my list. He's on my list. He's another guy that could have been like the guy, but they spent so much time telling you that he's not the guy. That it doesn't matter if the machine gets behind him now. You've already flattened him. You can only scrape him up and fluff him up so much more. I mean, there's so many guys though, like Samoa Joe. Like, it kind of had a fantasy match in my head. Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar. I thought that would draw money. Yeah. And then when it happened, I think they did main event a pay-per-view, and it was like 6 or 7 minutes, F5, and he was done. And therefore, he would never contend with Lesnar again. Because you can look at the body difference.
When a Russo run TNA does a better match, you're in trouble.
Sure.
When they go like, maybe they pulled the trigger too soon, but they got mileage out of Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
And where's Samoa Joe today? Where's Samoa Joe at today?
He's either injured or
there we go.
He's
at the house.
He's suspended
Brother's
again.
At the house because brother cannot be relied on. I love him. He's one of my favorite wrestlers, but the guy that got to WWE had so many miles on him. I'm not letting that guy beat the guy I broke the streak for. Rob Van Dam was hot as a pistol. What did he do? Rode with his dumb buddy and got high and got caught. You got to be able to rely on these dudes, man.
What about Dolph Ziggler?
Star like that. Dolph Ziggler is just bad. Bumping is not good. Nobody's ever got over by just being the guy who bumped well. As a man who but he also had offense well, and he also could talk well, and also Dolph Ziggler is a problem because Shawn Michaels existed before. I've already saw a better version of this. It was the original. Now I got this one, and as Jeff G. Bailey once told me, God damn it, show me the great Dolph Ziggler match, and I'll watch the motherfucker. And I'm here to tell you it don't exist. The great Dolph Ziggler match. Tell me one, Jeremy. I'll go watch it tonight.
Can't really disagree. This is fun. This is why I wanted to do this. This was going to be good. But you're right.
Look at Hankins. Hankins is just another guy in the long line of people who've gotten over on Dolph Ziggler.
Well, when he was hot, when he won the title, when he cashed in, you can't tell me that those people weren't ready for it. And you were talking about those dumb fans at WrestleMania.
Those people are dumb, Jeremy. I don't want anything those people got to have.
But when 80,000 people are telling you, we don't want what you're giving us, like put it back in the box, you got to listen.
But they tell me
whether
that every
they're
night.
Assholes or not.
They tell me they want it. I give it to them, and then they tell me they don't want it anymore. Because as soon with that fan base in particular, as soon as something becomes what the company's doing and not what they created, they're out on it. They're just done.
Right. Yeah.
Here's
if Daniel Bryan had not gotten, go ahead, Steve.
No. Tell me about Daniel Bryan.
If Daniel Bryan, if he had not gotten hurt after winning the title. Like he had this, I know they had a dumb series with Kane, and I understand that. If he had not gotten hurt, though, they would have cooled on him too. These people are so fickle. They only care about the build. They only care about them creating the build, and if you create the build, they don't want it. Goddamn Roman beat cancer, and they couldn't stay behind them. They only care about the build. Kofi Mania, yay! And then the next 2 weeks,
fickle.
There's Kofi.
But
here's the question,
and I hate to go all Jim Cornette on you, but it's not the same business. It's not the wrestling business anymore. It's whatever they've turned it into. So there is no tried and true formula that you can go with that's worked for 100 years, because they've distanced themselves so far from wrestling and the wrestling business that you can't create a star that the fans are going to like and love. And yes, the fight has changed a little bit. The baby face is dead. You can't create that baby face. Like, for example, in APW 10 years ago, I had a young, good-looking Anthony Henry, and I had Strychnine. Strychnine was our top heel, throwing a fireball in our top babyface's face, who spent a year chasing the title and had just got it. During that feud, even the people of Royston, who are still wrestling fans, chose the heel over the babyface in such a way that they had to change midway through a match that we had spent 6 months building, and it was at a big show.
Yeah.
And we're not drawing 80,000.
That's who they chose.
I mean,
they chose the guy they can relate to. I can't relate to Anthony Henry. He's gorgeous. Look at him. He's in shape. He's gorgeous. He can wrestle his ass off. I can't relate to that motherfucker. That's why I like Samoa Joe.
But, like back in the day in the wrestling business, you lined up chick magnets on your babyface side. You wanted the guys that drew the rats. And the heels made them scatter. And now it's a different business. But, I'm with you. Like you could go to Seth Rollins with the way that they wanted him. He was their guy. I don't think he was their guy. I think he was the best option they had that was realistic. So they went with Seth Rollins, and, the people turned on him. I would like to see AJ Styles get a run as that top babyface and actually get behind him for like a big WrestleMania push at the title. But, am I a little biased there? Sure I am.
Of course.
Do I think he can carry it? He hadn't dropped anything yet. The worst thing he's done is choose to be with Luke and Carl, who they've spent 2 years burying. So, that's admirable on AJ's part, but it's not doing anything for his career. And I love both of those guys too, but they've buried him.
I have please allow me the indulgence. I'm going to be optimistic for a second here, which I know. It's against brand, but...
Yeah, I've never heard you be optimistic, but go ahead. Let's try this. Could there be an unintended consequence for what we're going through now as in pro wrestling in general? No crowds, having to sort of retool the shows, crowds no longer factoring in, if they ever did, on decision making. Might it be possible that crowds, once they do return to wrestling shows, have a different mentality of, you were kicked out of the house, right? And now you're back. Maybe where it's maybe we're not, or maybe the social mores move towards, being an asshole towards a wrestling show is not a good way to be, because fuck you, I miss this shit, I'm glad I'm back, knock it off. And I'm not saying presentation. Is it
not
going to change
overtly,
the presentation towards the fans?
Yes, of those. I mean, maybe a little more. I think pro wrestling has had this problem of that it runs under two speeds. We're going to do what we want to do, or too much fan service, where it's we'll do this, it'll make them happy, instead of this sort of happy medium of let's get them to buy into what we're doing. And what I'm hoping is when wrestling fans come back and watch these shows live, that they'll have the chip clearly knocked off of their shoulder. Because one thing all of this shit shows, none of this has to exist. No. And WWE can say then, now, and forever, but we know it ain't true now.
Right.
Like, at some point, they're going to die. They're going to be gone. And it'll be completely out of their hands when it does. And it doesn't take a lot. That's the most frightening part of all this shit, right? It doesn't take a lot for society to collapse in on itself. And
it happened in 3 weeks.
Yeah. And what I'm hoping is maybe wrestling fans have a little bit of a different attitude about the whole thing. Of like, we don't have to fucking run a show. There doesn't have to be this stuff. Maybe you can just be happy that it exists. I imagine people who go back to see movies, for example, will appreciate that experience a little bit more of like, it is kind of an amazing thing, right? You pay a little bit of money, you sit down, you got a television screen bigger than your house, and you sit in complete comfort, right? And you get to engage in this amazing thing. Maybe people will appreciate wrestling. That could be way too optimistic, but I really hope that is the case.
There'll be a honeymoon for sure. The first month back for everybody is going to be great. And I don't even mean just from like big crowds or anything. And they'll go up. But like, there will be a honeymoon of, my God, we're just glad to see each other. But at the end of the day, we are who we are now. Do I think that wrestling is dead? Nope. And do I think that places here especially, as rough as it can get around here sometimes, I think we're blessed because we do still, for the most part, have old school fans that are pulling the same way on the rope as we are. You can get them mad at the right things. You can get them happy at the right things most of the time. Sometimes, you're going to go too far. Sometimes they're going to choose the guy that you didn't think they were going to choose. But at least they've made a choice for a reason other than, I just want to make a cool chant, or I think this guy's work rate is good. We don't get a lot of that like everybody else has to, like the big leagues have to suffer with.
And I am so thankful that we have that kind of audience around here. And I say around here meaning in Georgia, South Carolina. It's because, and in my opinion, like, it's a lot of the parents that bring their kids to these indie shows, and a lot of kids don't necessarily watch WWE. I might be, that might sound ridiculous, but
no, I think that's absolutely true. It's not cool anymore. So I think you're right, Jeremy.
And I don't think mom and dad
is a much bigger star to most of these kids than Seth Rollins is.
And you know why? Because he's accessible. Mm-hmm. You go to a WWE show, you don't get to get close enough to get a high five from the guys anymore. You can't even hang out in the parking lot and wait all day for autographs like I did when I was a kid. You can't. It's like the Stones coming to town. You might see a bus, but that's as close as you're getting to behind the scenes peak.
Yeah.
And I've got guys that are my oldest son's age, which is like 23. A kid that I trained for 6 months last year and quit to pursue music, even though he was really, really good and almost ready for a match. He, he's told me, and I mean, he could blow and smoke, but I doubt it because he could sit there and recite stuff that I can't. But he says I'm his all-time favorite wrestler because he's been coming to APW since he was like 4, him and his dad, and he can recite stuff that happened and bring in and remind me of stuff that blows my mind that I don't remember because I remember how big of a deal it was at the time. And like he said, I grew up on this stuff, so I love it. I always thought you were just such a good heel, and it was fun to watch you get beat up, and but there's a lot of kids, like there's kids at church, there's kids that come to the shows now that now that I'm a babyface and I can talk to them, they really express like how much they love the wrestling. They love the good guys and they hate the bad guys, and they and the people in their 20s really, can really get pissed off because they're trying to get mad at the heels. I mean, it's cool to have fans that are not smart marks. You know, do they believe wholeheartedly what's going on is a true sport or contest? Probably not. But
yeah,
do they get captivated enough to be pissed off or to be happy in the moment they're supposed to be? Hell yes.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
that is perfect. That's what that's what the business is. And that's not what WWE puts out. And I think they're going to get caught sleeping by AEW. And
I mean,
you know, there's just enough magic of the wrestling business in AEW that they might just get caught sleeping and have a competitor on their hand before they know it.
Yeah. Well, you know, we don't have much time left before we're going to get kicked off, but I just wanted to thank both of you guys for being on. This was an absolute blast. I think we can all agree. We can all agree and concur. You know, we want everybody to stay safe. We want nobody to get hurt by this coronavirus thing. We want to just do our best to kind of keep things going. And when wrestling returns, you guys will be a big part of that. And the only thing that we want to catch coronavirus and die is the what chant. I think we can agree on that also.
What?
So, is there anything you guys want to promote before we get out of here?
You know,
Jeremy?
I want to promote that the coronavirus has put us to a halt, and when we get back going, it'll be great, but God knows when that'll be. So I just pray for everybody's health, and I'm thankful to get to come on the show and actually just talk and shoot the breeze with you guys, because the last two times have been like, the last time I was like under the gun. I felt like I was testifying for Lee Harvey Oswald, but before that, like, I had to promote a show, and I was on for that particular reason, and like, if I had known that was my reason, I would have probably had someone else do it, because talking about a show and promoting it when I'm knee-deep in doing everything else involved with the show is not my forte. But when it comes to just talking about the business with guys that I respect and think a lot of and cutting up and having a good time, this was perfect. This is what I needed. This was almost like having a show. So I thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jeremy. Hankins, anything that you want to say, man?
Oh, yeah, it is something I want to say. Because guess what, boys? I ain't quitting wrestling. I'm wrestling this weekend. I'm going to an empty Landmark Arena where I was last night, I might add, just to get a feel for how that baby felt without any yokels in it, just to sit in the stands and think, and just to tell a boy who's sitting up on the internet dancing around that this shit is serious. Because this Saturday night in the Landmark Arena, you can see it by going to YouTube. Right after you watch Stephen Platinum be mean to people for 15 or 20 minutes at a time, all you got to do is go up to the search bar and you got to type in Anarchy Damn Wrestling. The damn is optional. You type in Anarchy Wrestling and you will come to the Anarchy Wrestling page. And there at 7 p.m. you will see it start. It is one match. One arena, nobody in there that shouldn't be, just me, Shane Marks, Griff Garrison, a referee, a commentator, and I'm sure Uncle Bill will be sleazing around somewhere, because Lord knows he couldn't let his precious baby boy stand and fight like a man. But that's
I don't know, he's elderly.
Saturday.
Yeah, he's elderly. He may need to stay home.
Bill, so you might want to stay at the house for this one, because it is a title match. Shane Marks wrestles for the first time that I know of, the first time that matters, for the Anarchy Heavyweight Championship, something they've tried to deny us for a long, long time. You didn't want to work with us back then, boys? Well, guess what? The invasion is at your shore, and I can tell you for a fact, you have denied him these many years. But this Saturday, the outcome is undeniable.
Nice. What a promo. Hey, I got a request before we go.
Yes, sir.
Can I please get a live rendition?
Vampiro Verbo.
That is exactly what I was going to ask. Was a live performance. Can we all sing together? Everyone knows it's corny.
We opened with a great song. We closed with a not-so-great song. For Jeremy Vane, Matt Hankins.
How did you know that was my request?
I know you too well, Jeremy Vane.
I pop every time I hear that, and I just think of you.
Me too. Me too, Jeremy. Me too.
So for Matt Hankins, Jeremy Vane, Stephen Platinum, and super producer and Mr. Chips, Larry Goodman, we bid you good night. Stay safe, and we'll see you in a couple weeks with the tipping point.
Love you guys.
Roll out the barrel. A lot of people are going to mistake me for Johnny Cash, but I'm not Johnny Cash. I'm the Crusher. Hey! Do the hammerlock. Do the hammerlock. Do the hammerlock, you turkey neck.
Yeah.
Do the hammerlock.
What?
I do the hammerlock. Everybody's doing it. Do the eye gouge.
Gouge. Poke that bitch in the eye.
You turkey neck. Do the eye gouge. I do the eye gouge. Everybody's doing it. Okay, you turkey neck. Gather around. Let me show you how to do the Crusher. And if you don't learn it now, I'm gonna get you in the ring. Okay, you take your fist, then put it on your waist. And if you don't, you're gonna be in disgrace.
Oh, there's a dance to this
You
shit?
just squeeze your partner's head, just blue in the face. Do the Crusher. Do the Crusher. Do the Crusher, you turkey neck. Yeah, do the Crusher. I do the Crusher. Everybody do it now.
We thank you for listening to this broadcast, a production brought to you by the GWH Radio Network. Stay tuned to GeorgiaWrestlingHistory.com for the latest information on upcoming events and more. As always, we thank you for your continued support.